up today, a 5.0 magnitude earthquake strikes off the coast of southeast Korea. The quake was strong enough to shake buildings, but no injuries or damage has been reported. South Korea's Prime Minister calls for more action to prevent North Korea building up its nuclear weapons program. He says Pyongyang's provocations will no longer be tolerated. First, Hillary Clinton will not face criminal charges for using her private email to discuss top-secret information. The FBI concludes there was no willful breaking of the law. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello to our viewers around the world. It's 6 a.m. on Wednesday, July 6th here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Broom. We start this morning with that rattler off the southeastern coast of Korea. Coming in at magnitude 5.0, the earthquake was the fifth strongest ever recorded on the Korean peninsula. Officials say the quake struck at 8:33 p.m. Korea time on Tuesday evening, some 52 kilometers off the coast of Ulsan. The quake was felt across Gyeongsang-do province, including in major cities such as Busan and Daegu, but there have been no reports of casualties or property damage. The Ministry of Public Safety and Security says more than 6,500 emergency calls were received within half an hour of the quake. The Korea Hydro and Nuclear Power Corporation confirmed nuclear facilities in the nation are unaffected, including the nuclear plant in Gori near Busan. We also saw the power of nature above our heads on Tuesday. The heaviest rain of the season pounded most of Korea, with the central region the hardest hit. Lee Min-young has more.
The heavy rain warning issued for the capital area is no longer in effect, but it's too early to feel safe. The KMA says the seasonal rain front will be lingering at the central region of Korea on Wednesday, pouring over 120 millimeters of more heavy rain precipitation in some areas. The downpour has caused widespread damage across the nation, with 200 being forced to evacuate their homes in the capital alone. The Cheonggyecheon Stream's pedestrian walkway in downtown Seoul is still closed to the public. Residents have been also advised to avoid the Jungnangcheon Stream as it was under a flood watch. The National Emergency Management Agency has restricted several highways and bridges as roads sank due to heavy rain, including parts of Dongbu Highway and Mapo Bridge in central Seoul. Parts of the Chamsu Bridge are also underwater. Meanwhile, 4 people have gone missing as a car they were in fell into a river and was swept away by the strong currents in Cheongsan, Gangwon-do province.
We found their belongings 3 meters away along the downstream from where the accident took place. We will expand search operations towards the Yongwol area.
Also in Yangju, Gyeonggi-do province, the embankment collapsed and buried the houses below, leaving 2 residents injured and 5 displaced. On the road, there were multiple car pileups in Gyeongbu Express Highway and the Beltway around Seoul. The weather agency asked people to refrain from outdoor activities and those living in areas prone to landslides and flooding to evacuate. Lee Min-young, Arirang News.
Now, in the past, Korea's weather agency was able to get a pretty good idea on when to expect heavy showers, but experts say it's been getting trickier to predict in recent years. They suggest climate change is making monsoon patterns more irregular. EG1 reports.
A seasonal monsoon has wet most part of the nation for the past few days, with several parts of the peninsula already seeing downpours, and heavy rain alerts have been issued across most of the nation. In Seoul, it's been raining so much that the water level here at the Chamsu Bridge has topped over 6.2 meters, or more than 3 times the normal level, enough to shut it down. The low-level bridge stands at 2 meters above the river. But with the recent heavy rainfall, parts of the bridge and the Banpo Hangang Park have been flooded, forcing authorities to restrict the area due to safety concerns. The monsoon season, or Changma in Korean, kicked off last week with precipitation hitting the southern regions of the country and expanding to the upper regions, including Seoul, by Monday. Monsoon rain normally arrived in late June and ended around the first weeks of August. But in recent years, the rainy season has become unpredictable.
In the past, precipitation could be somewhat predicted, but not anymore. Even after the monsoon season ends, heavy showers dominate the forecast. And severe rainstorms have become much more frequent with sporadic localized downpours. And numerous climate experts say this is as a result of climate change.
The expert says as climate change increases the average temperature, the amount of evaporation from land and different bodies of water increases, leading to faster condensation and eventually more frequent precipitation. With the monsoon pattern becoming more random and difficult to predict, experts call for measures to minimize the damage and impact of these abnormal weather conditions.
As the monsoon patterns change, weather forecasting becomes more difficult, which means there is less time to prepare against severe weather conditions. Thus, we need to come up with different safety standards, especially when building structures.
With the severe rain already taking a toll across the country, experts warn that both short and long-term preparations are needed, while the range of safety regulations against heavy downpours during the monsoon season needs to be widened. 이지원, Arirang News.
Now, in other news, the second and final day of a government Q&A session descended into rather ugly scenes on Tuesday, with the session having to be temporarily suspended to allow for cooler heads to prevail. Our Shin Se-min has a rundown of the day's events at the National Assembly.
Wrapping up a two-day parliamentary question and answer session Tuesday, Korea's Prime Minister Hwang Kyo-won said that North Korea should no longer be allowed to beef up its nuclear and missile capabilities. Hwang admitted South Korea wasn't able to take the appropriate measures to deal with the North's first 3 nuclear tests, but said North Korea's continued provocations can no longer be tolerated and that something must be done. While the Prime Minister called for international cooperation to contain North Korea, Defense Minister Han Min-gu vowed that the South Korean military will mobilize all means to address the threats coming from the North. On the issue of the possible deployment of the U.S. missile defense system, also known as THAAD, the Defense Minister said the program would serve as the bare minimum of the response measures against the North. The Q&A session also covered other domestic, non-economy-related matters like the oxy-humidifier disinfectant scandal and the country's struggle to bring down ultra-fine dust levels. The session underwent a brief suspension this morning when some of the lawmakers clashed over questions being asked by People's Party lawmaker Kim Dong-chul. Kim was asking the Prime Minister about the government's parachute appointments, where the government has appointed officials with connections but little experience to positions of power. With some of the lawmakers yelling at each other, the session was adjourned and the leaders of the 3 main political parties held a brief meeting to contain the situation. The scene was quite the disappointment for those watching, as hopes for the 20th National Assembly lawmakers only into their month term were high. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
Now, there's a busy couple of days coming up on the domestic political scene. On Thursday, high-ranking government officials and party leaders will meet to discuss economic bills. The following day, President Park Geun-hye will sit down with ruling party lawmakers at the top office. Song Ji-son has more.
Representatives from the government, presidential office, and parliament will meet on Thursday for the first time since the 20th National Assembly kicked off in May. At the meeting, they'll discuss bills on economic revitalization, as well as a government fiscal stimulus plan announced last week, which includes a budget supplement of $8.6 billion. President Park is also gearing up to pull the divided ruling party together. On Friday, all ruling Saenuri Party lawmakers are invited to the presidential office for lunch, where the president will cover their cooperation in carrying out her policy initiatives. The ruling party has been divided over a decision to allow the return of several lawmakers who left the party before April's general election to run as independents. In a bid to expand communication with the National Assembly, President Park had also vowed to sit down with lawmakers on a more regular basis. A meeting with the National Assembly Speaker and the chairs of its standing committees is also reportedly being arranged. 송지선, Arirang News.
The government has laid out an ambitious 5-year blueprint to boost Korea's service sector. The plan includes increased investment, tax breaks and less red tape. Hwang Jie reports.
With the manufacturing sector losing steam due to sluggish global demand and fierce competition from China, Korea has its eyes now set on services. The government announced a set of measures on Tuesday to boost the service industry over the next 5 years with the aim of creating an environment that encourages capital flows into the sector. By 2020, the government will expand its financial support for the service industry by 15 trillion won, or roughly $13 billion, while doubling its ratio of R&D investment set aside for the service sector to 6%. It also plans to strip away regulations and improve tax benefits.
We will resolve the remaining problem of discrimination between the service and manufacturing sectors. To do so, the government will expand tax breaks for the service industry. We will amend tax laws so that service providers can receive tax benefits similar to those provided to the manufacturing industry.
With these measures, the government expects the country's annual growth rate to tick up by 0.1 to 0.2 percentage points every year until 2020. Much of the support will be dedicated to 7 specific fields: medical services, tourism, entertainment content, education, financial services, software development, and logistics driven by new technologies. The government aims to add 250,000 jobs in these fields by 2020, but experts say that is far from enough.
The total number of employees in the nation's service sector is at around 18 million. I'm doubtful whether fostering just a number of services will help resolve the problems surrounding employment in the overall industry.
So what is urgent, the researcher adds, is revving up the low value-added fields of service together with the high value-added sectors that the government has designated as promising new growth engines. Hwang Jie, Arirang News.
Now, huge news out of the United States. Hillary Clinton will not face criminal charges for using her private email to discuss top-secret information while Secretary of State. FBI Director James Comey admitted Tuesday that the Bureau had found evidence of an extremely careless handling of emails by Clinton. He said at least 110 emails contained classified information when they were sent. However, Comey said the FBI's year-long investigation concluded that no reasonable prosecutor would bring charges against the presumptive Democratic presidential nominee. Reacting to the announcement on Twitter, her Republican rival Donald Trump said Clinton had compromised U.S. national security and claimed the system was rigged. Trump has consistently slammed Clinton over the scandal, saying the probe should disqualify her from being president. British Interior Minister Theresa May has won big in the first ballot of Conservative Party MPs to select their candidate for Britain's next Prime Minister. She has an overwhelming lead of 165 to 66 over her nearest rival, Andrea Leadsom, a junior energy minister. The result increases the chance that Britain will be ushering in its second female Prime Minister in history following Margaret Thatcher. The vote comes in the wake of the Brexit referendum and the subsequent impact on property investors and the British pound. Latest figures show sterling has hit a 31-year low, and 3 funds investing in British property said they were suspending trading, citing a rush of people rushing to withdraw their money. Now, as the 2016 Olympics in Rio draw ever closer, Korea's athletes and sport officials gathered in Seoul on Tuesday to share their goals and express their determination to bring back some medals. While the athletes focus on their performance, there are also lingering and serious logistical and safety issues at hand. Kwon Jang-ho with the details.
Over the last 4 years, our athletes have prepared for these Olympics with steely determination and focus. I am sure they'll come home with the successful results they deserve.
The Korean Olympic Committee has set the goal of obtaining 10 gold medals and finish among the top 10 in next month's Olympic Games in Rio. based on previous records, this is an attainable target. Korea finished in the top 10 the past 3 Summer Olympics, even reaching 5th place in London 2012 with 13 gold, 8 silvers and 7 bronzes. 2 of those medals were won by archer Ki Bo-bae, and many are hoping that she'll be able to repeat her success.
The media have talked a lot about winning back-to-back golds, and it has been on my mind. But my other 2 teammates are also great athletes, and they have a great chance too.
But there are obstacles in the way. First, athletes have to take a 9-hour flight to Dubai, where they'll transfer to a flight to Rio, taking another 15 hours. The overall travel time is estimated at more than 24 hours, traveling over 18,000 kilometers. And then they will also have to deal with a 12-hour time difference. There's also political unrest, safety issues and health risks, such as malaria and Zika virus outbreak, that they will have to navigate. The Korean Olympic Committee said it will do everything it can to ensure the athletes' safety.
It is a worry. You can't help but worry. We have all the malaria and other medications prepared, but we have to avoid getting bitten by mosquitoes. It is going to be a distraction.
With just over a month to go, Rio is now in sight. But in addition to the hopes for success in the medal tables, there's also great emphasis on making sure that everyone involved gets back safe and sound. Kwon Jang-ho, Arirang News.
Well, that's all we have for now. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.